So early on, I was starting a business. I think it was my first business as an adult,
Hmm.
and I borrowed money from friends, family, investors. Interesting one was actually in the mob, and I didn't know it at the time. And and I failed, right?
Yeah.
And the concept of borrowing money and and it was all in my own head that I hurt these people, right?
Yeah.
But but the concept of borrowing money, which is right where my mind went, like if I had all the answers, I'll just borrow some money and I did it.
Uh,
Yeah,
Before
I'm
we
just
get
saying
that,
I already have my own mental blocks here.
yeah, there's head trash for all. I have head trash. We all have head trash.
Yeah.
But back to that point, would 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 you take that? Would you take that opportunity? And what would your level of excitement be? And what would your level of confidence be that you would become exceedingly successful if you could do what Biff did?
Through the roof.
10 out of 10?
Yep.
So, what does that tell you about the initial problem then? What is the problem? Because if I can create a scenario where money's not a problem, right?
Yep.
Then that's a reality, right? There is a scenario there that you could start. Now, why it would knowing the future be so valuable? Here's a key. Because you'd know exactly what to do. So the problem isn't starting with no money. The problem is that we don't know exactly what to do. Now that's fantasy land to think you can go to the future and know everything because you can't predict the future. I have basketballs, not crystal balls. I've looked in these many times and they haven't told me anything. They tell me about the past, a really old past, non-glorious past in those crystal balls. But here's the thing. It still does, it's not about predicting the future. Again, the thing that gave you the confidence is you knew what to do. In other words, when you know what to do, you go 10 out of 10 confidence, right? Is it that you're afraid of borrowing money, or is it you're afraid of borrowing money and not knowing how to do the right
That's
thing?
what it is. Exactly that.
Oh, so it's not. So if you had the crystal ball and you knew what to do,
And
borrowing
I
money would be
I
no.
wouldn't struggle.
The head
Yep.
trash is gone.
Completely.
Okay, so what we're finding out is it isn't that, like, let me give you another thought. It's about positioning, really. I go to the gas pump, not very often, but when I go to the gas pump and I look across and it breaks my heart because I see a mother or I see someone looking at the price of gas going up and they're a consumer of the gas and they pull out a cell phone and maybe text somebody and they're wearing their Hanes sweats. And I think, I've owned GM stock before. They're driving a GM's car. I own Exxon Mobil. They're pumping my gas. I own AT&T Wireless. AT&T. They're using my network. I own Apple Computer. They're using my phone. So I'm at the gas pump as a producer of value. She's there as a consumer of value. And so when I see the price of gas go up, that benefits me because you'll see the dividend pop, and it's a disadvantage to her because now her spending money has gotten less. She has a fixed income. Her expenses, groceries, all these things she's using are going up, and she's staying the same. So is the problem she has that she's a victim of the evil capitalist? Well, okay, so you don't want cell phones, you don't want AT&T, you don't want clothing, you don't want gas. That's what you want, or is it that she just didn't know what to do? Is it the war in Ukraine? Is it, in other words, look at all of the reasons it'll come down to this every time, Greg. It'll come to this every time. It's just I don't know how to position myself. Inflation right here can help people in the right position.
Right.
Deflation would hurt those same people. So the core issue of starting with nothing. So the core issue generally is the context shift is one of what is my problem? Is it that I don't have enough money? Is it that I don't have enough contacts? That I don't have enough time? I don't have the right government? I don't have the right laws? I don't have the right, all these things that make me a victim of external things. But what if you knew what to do? And the biggest problem that I've run into is when I don't know what to do. Again, I'll go back to that idea of If you hop in the DeLorean and you knew what the future was, you would know what to do. You would take that any day. If I gave you the choice of $10,000 right now or that trip in the DeLorean into the future, which would you take? I'll give you 10 grand right now or the trip in the future. Which you want?
I'm taking the trip.
But now you come back with no money. See, I give you 10 grand. See, that's where people, oh my gosh, even if you gave me 10 grand, I still wouldn't know what to do.
Right.
And the reason we lose money for me is two reasons. A, either I was messing around with something I didn't know what I was doing in, right? Which is fine because that's how you learn. Or B, my temperament got me.
Yeah.
I was greedy, or I was lazy, or I was, angry, or whatever. I had some emotions that caused a problem. If you get in a lawsuit, check your emotions and see what happened, right? If you lose money or have if something bad happens, when emotion goes up, intelligence goes down. Greed, anger, lust, laziness, whatever you're feeling hurts you. So education and temperament are the two big things. Now,
okay, wait, I want to challenge this.
We'll go more granular with that context. Go
okay,
ahead.
But education, right? I think you nailed it. Like in my head, I'm like, I get it. But Biff, he went to the future. He could trust that book.
Good.
He knew the book was right.
Exactly.
When I come back to the real world,
yeah,
I have to have that teacher that I trust and know what's right. And guess what? I'm going to tell you 98%, and that's just a made up number, are full of crap.
Well, I think you can tell if what the teacher says is tantalizing to you, they're probably more of a salesman than a teacher. If your teacher says, oh, it's all good and no bad, all reward and no risk, the no time involved, that's a real warning sign that he's not a teacher, that he's a snake oil guy, right? That's
right.
Really important. So let's talk about what a person does have. Okay, number one, it's threatened right now, at least in my country. I see it eroding, but for the time being, there's still a pretty good amount of freedom here. You have freedom of speech. You just get in a lot more trouble for speaking your mind than you used to, because you're going to offend somebody, and you're going to get labeled and all this stuff. But you still have some freedom. Another thing you have is you have an amazing machine that no one's been able to replicate called a brain. Even the greatest computers in the world can't do what your brain do. Now, that brain can atrophy, and well, I'm not creative. Whoa. That type of self-talk. No, you are creative. In fact, you create solutions to problems every day. Okay? Every day. Necessity is the mother of invention. When people find something necessary and they become uncomfortable, they begin to solve problems. And the creativity is phenomenal. The ability to solve problems, the things people come up with. So you have some resources. You have people that you know. Well, I don't know anybody. Not so sure. There's this thing called degrees of separation from Kevin Bacon or whatever, 6 degrees. You're so close. You're 1 or 2 relationships away from someone who could really help you. You have a network, no matter who you are. That's just a proven fact. You can find someone in the mountains of China that you've never met before. There's less than 6 degrees between you and that person. So everyone on the planet is in your network, basically.
Right.
It's just a matter of that finding that pathway. So that's kind of tough. That's kind of tough stuff to hear, because here's a harsh reality of starting with nothing. As long as I have things externally that are causing me to be poor, it's okay to be poor. But as soon as I say, I really could become wealthy if I knew what to do, now it just comes down to learning and doing, right? And that is not a comfortable place to be, because all of a sudden, guess what that puts on my shoulders? And I feel it's heavy. Responsibility. If personal responsibility causes me pain, if all of a sudden I start saying, well, I'm really responsible for my own success regardless of what the government does, and I'm really responsible for feeding my family no matter what other people do, that weight is heavy. And if that causes some pain for someone, then that's a wonderful opportunity for personal growth, to build broad shoulders to begin to handle that. Because I feel it. Life isn't any easier for me than anybody else.
Well, we were actually talking about that before the show started. We both have businesses with employees.
So the reason people don't like to hear the words that, well, you can start with nothing, because all of a sudden that means that they have an opportunity, and that can be good news, that can be bad news, right? Because it's very, very simple to say, you know, well, I have no advantages. There's like we love to have reasons to be right. Right? We have to have reasons to be right. Harvard's proven this, and you know, we're addicted to it. We get dopamine hits when we say we're right. Well, I'm suffering because of, it's not my fault, right? I'm not saying it is. I think we have to have compassion. Let's acknowledge once again that I got dealt a better hand than most people in the world, even though my father was not wealthy and didn't have anything to help me start off with business-wise. Still, you know, I had advantages being in the U.S. There's other people who are ultra privileged, right? They're going to go to Wharton School of Business, and their millionaireship was deemed when they were born, no question. But I also love the story of the underdog. I think there's not, like the Ukraine guy saying, hey, I'm going to pick up my gun and fight. That's inspiring to me because it's courage, right? It's courage. And I love the guys that started out with nothing and they make something out of it.